Good morning and welcome to everybody. My name is Robin. I'm from Hikvision head office, and today we'll be doing our HIK Pro Connect training. Right? So can everybody hear me clearly, and can everybody see my slides? Perfect. Without further ado, let's get started, guys. So today we're going to be doing, like I mentioned, we're going to be in HIK Pro Connect, right? So if you guys are not aware, the HIK Pro Connect is for our installers. Okay, so it's a very nice tool that you guys can use in your physical business, especially when you're going to site. It will make your lives much easier when you're doing configuration or when adding physical sites to your physical accounts or doing physical remote management. So let's get started on the slides, right? So the first slide we'll be going through, this is our training 1 of 3. All right, so the first one we'll be going through is what is called our site management. All right, so on our site management, we have physically our structure. Okay, so our structure is based on 3 parts, right? Because like I mentioned before, this is for HIK Pro Connect, is only for installers. That means you as an installer have to have the HIK Pro Connect installed on your physical device or on a laptop, right? Also, then your client on his end has to have HIK Connect. So once the client has HIK Connect, you will then add the HIK Connect details from the client onto your HIK Pro Connect, and then you'll be able to access his sites and do some configuration for the client, right? So just want to get through this, 1 second. Right, so if you look at the actual topology of the structure, right? So HIK Pro Connect, what is it? It's basically a centralized management system with easy configuration, right? Everything is based on cloud storage. Okay, what can you add as an installer on your HIK Pro Connect? You can add your CCTV devices, you can add your alarm systems, as well as your access control and intercoms. Also, integration that has been done recently, you can add physical doorbells. Also, please note that HIK Pro Connect is only for Hikvision devices, so we do not currently support any third-party devices. All right. So if you're looking at our next slide, this is our homepage introduction. Okay, so this is what we will be going through today. All right. So firstly, we will have to do our site page overview. This is basically showing us everything that's on our physical page, what we can do, what we cannot do, what we're able to view on our physical page itself, right? Then it also shows us how we'll be able to add a new site. So when we get to a client, how we'll be able to create a new site for the client. In the event the client has an existing site, meaning he has a HIK Connect account, right? He has devices already added to his physical account. We can then just add that existing site onto our HIK Pro Connect, and then we'll be able to physically manage that site for the client, right? Also, we then assign a site to a physical installer. So obviously that's, I think, self-explanatory, that you'll add the site to an installer that's going to go out and physically do work for the particular client, right? Then we also have the invite site owner. That would be the physical owner or the administrator of a particular company, okay? And then also we're going to go through apply for site authorization from site owner. So remember, when we add in a site for a client, the client needs to give us certain permissions or authorizations to work on his site. What type of permissions can they give us? They can give us remote configuration. They can give us a live view. They can give us a playback option. They can allow us to change IP addresses, etc. Right? So firstly, the admin is usually the boss of the installer company. Okay, so if you were owner of the physical company, you'll be the admin. Okay, and then secondly, the site manager is always the employee of the company. Okay, and then lastly, the site owner, like I mentioned right now, is the end user or the guy that's actually working on the physical site, managing the client's portfolio. Okay, and then what we'll also be going through today is our physical health monitoring. So this is a new feature that Hikvision has put in place, and this health monitoring basically shows us exactly the statuses of our physical devices. It can show us if the device is currently online, if the device is offline. If you're physically using an AX Pro, it will also show you the battery life on the AX Pro, or if the alarm is activated or deactivated. So moving on to our next slide is what can we get from our physical homepage, right? So if you look at our physical homepage, it's split up into various categories, right? So the first category we look at is introducing our rewards program or our rewards point system. Okay, so this is a new feature that Hikvision has introduced to us. What this does is, if you have a HIK Pro Connect application and you add physical new sites or add users or add installers onto it, Hikvision will reward you with what is called reward points. Okay, what you can do with those reward points, you can physically buy licenses. For example, you can buy licenses for a camera that you need to add, or a service, a health monitoring service. So remember, everything on HIK Pro Connect, there is certain applications that is free, and there's certain applications that you physically need to purchase from, right? So looking at the next aspect of it, if you look at the bottom, you'll be able to see that on your site management, you can physically see your physical online devices. You can physically see how many devices is connected. You can physically see devices that you have added to your account, devices that hasn't been accepted from the client. So if you go to a physical site, you add their HIK Connect details onto their site. If they have not given you permissions, you'll be able to see that they've not accepted your permission or they have accepted your permission, right? If you're looking at the next one, you're looking at also our not invited. Like I mentioned, this is a newly added site. You have not invited the end user as the site owner. We also have the not registered. This means the invitation has been sent to the end user and has not registered a HIK Connect account. So that means this is a new client that you've gone to. The client doesn't physically have a HIK Connect. Okay, so you sent the client an invitation to please install HIK Connect onto his device itself so that you can add his account. So he hasn't done so as yet, right? Or you have the not accepted option. This is the invitation has been sent, but has not been accepted by the user of the account, right? So that is basically what we have on our page, on our homepage overview. Also, the nice thing we currently have on our homepage overview is our tutorial center. Our basic tutorial center gives you physical videos. What videos do we have? We have the videos on our physical products, what we can do on HIK Pro Connect, certain products, certain features that we're not aware of, we can find it physically on our video list. We also have physical solutions. So in the event you're having a problem with adding a new site or adding a new user, you can physically go to the solutions tab and there it will tell you basically a how-to guide. Then we have also technical guidance that also goes more in depth on what you need to, what you can and cannot do on your physical sites. We also have a user manual and also have what's new, right? So is there any questions so far? Okay, perfect. We don't have any questions so far, so we'll move on. Okay, and then also, like I mentioned before, this is our anniversary celebration. This is basically showing us our rewards on our physical packages, okay, and how our physical packages work. We have a 7-day package, we have a 7-day monthly package, and we also have our 30-day monthly packages, right? So like you can see, you'll be able to go onto our physical store and you'll be able to see the certain devices that you can purchase or certain packages that you can purchase for your devices. For example, your time and attendance or your health monitoring, you can physically go onto the site and it will give you the rand value for that. What is our next slide? This is what we can do on site management, right? So this is basically how does HIK Pro Connect boost your physical business, right? So if you're looking at our site overview, right, on our site overview, you can view your physical sites assigned to you, like I mentioned before. So you, the installer, as well as the installers, will manage all site permissions, and you can view the site as a company. So if you look on the physical site overview, you can physically add a new site, right? So when you add a new site, you will put the client's details, you will put the address of the client, you'll put the owner, and then you can physically see these physical devices he currently has. So if you look at the first one, we have an encoding device, we have a video intercom device, as well as a, say, security control panel, right? Who is the site manager, which is Mike, and then the status. So the status means that this guy has now given us authorization to manage his site as well as do monitoring on his site. Okay. If we look at the next one, this is just an overview and it physically shows us how to physically add a site. So if you're looking at it, it just shows you, you click on add site. Okay. You will then put in the site name. You'll put in the time zone, wherever you are in the world, right? You put in the site address, the city and the province, and you click OK. Then that means the site has been physically created. Okay. So once the site has been physically created, you as the installer will then send a notification to a client. You can do this in two ways. You can do it via email address or via cell phone number. So in the event the client doesn't have HIK-Connect, you will then send him a notification. On his end, he will receive an email or an SMS. He'll open up that email or SMS, and then he can register for HIK-Connect. Then obviously he'll have to create a physical account if he doesn't have one. Once he's created the physical account, he will accept that Robin from Hikvision is my installer, and I would like to give him permission for my physical sites. Okay, so this is just basically giving us again the add new site overview. So now we've created our physical site, right? So now you'll be able to see on the status. If you look next to site management, it gives you our physical status. It shows us they're not invited. The next one gives us the authorized and monitoring. That means I have full access to the client. Or the next one, if you look, it says invited or not authorized. That means I've sent a client an invitation, but he hasn't given me authorization as yet. So you'll be able to monitor and see which clients you have access to, which clients that doesn't give you access as yet. And you can just contact the clients and say, hey, ma'am, sir, I need access to work on your physical site. I think we have a question. Sorry, guys. Neva says there's a bit blurry. Is the presentation a bit blurry? Mike, yes, to answer your question. Yes, Mike, to answer your question, yes, you can restrict your installers. Remember, as the owner of the physical company, and you send your installer to go out, you can allow them certain permissions on the physical site. So whatever you want them to do on the physical site, you give them permission. So you can just give them remote access just to maybe basically change an IP address or do a physical recording. You don't have to give them a live view option. So yes, the option is available. All right, perfect. So we'll just move on to the next slide, right? So again, like I mentioned before, we add in a new site. This just shows us again that we can send an invitation via email as well as via phone number. So in the event, like I mentioned, the client doesn't have HIK-Connect, he will receive invite, which is called invitation join us. So once he has done the invitation join us, he will then fill in his physical details as a new client, and then obviously does his self registration. Please give me 1 second, guys. Let me reshare this for you. Is that better, guys? Can you see it now? Just give me a few seconds, guys. Let me just see what's going on here. 1 second.
So you're sharing this page, you're supposed to share.
Is that better, guys? Perfect. Sorry, guys. Is there any slides that you missed? Should I go back a few slides? Perfect, pardon. Thank you so much. Perfect. Thanks, Carl. Okay, so like I mentioned before, this is adding an existing site, right? So in the event you get to a client and you are now a new installer that he has hired to come and work on his physical site, okay? The client doesn't have to recreate his whole HIK-Connect again. So all his devices that's physically on his HIK-Connect account, you will then just add from an existing site. Okay, so if you look at the bottom, it's asking for a site ID. So if you go to your physical HIK-Connect itself, on your HIK-Connect, it will give you a physical ID. You will then supply that ID to your physical technician or your installer. You will then put the site ID in, and then all your information will will basically pop up on his side. He will then accept his information and then add you as a end user. Okay, so so this is the next slide that we're going to be going through is to assign a site installer. So like you mentioned before, somebody asked a question in connection to permissions, right? So now I am the owner of the installation company. I would then like Daniel to go onto a site and do some work for my physical client. I will then go onto my site management. I will then go assign a particular site. For example, this we're using a test account. We'll select the test account. We'll click the site manager, which is Daniel, and then we can give physical Daniel permissions to go physically work on that site, whether it's just for live view or to change an IP address or to physical remote playback. You as the site owner or the installer company has all these permissions for your managers or for your physical installers. Okay. And then obviously this is to invite site owner, which we mentioned before again, right? So this one is just showing us that he's not registered. So this client obviously doesn't have a HIK-Connect account. So we'll just send him a physical email or a phone number, right? And then you'll send the notification through to the client. He'll accept it. And then we can physically add his sites or accounts as normal. Okay, this is basically showing us the exact same. This is just applying for site authorization, right? So once you've sent a notification through to the client, you will physically see on your dashboard or on your cell phone. So remember, we can have HIK Pro Connect on a PC or on your physical mobile, right? Once the site has been handed over, you'll see a little hand. That means that the site is now handed over and waiting for authorization from the physical client. So once the client accepts the account, you'll see the hand will change to authorize and monitoring or authorization for a certain time period. Remember, because he is the site owner, right, he can give you limitations on his account. So he can give you free reign to monitor his site for eternity or for 1 month, or if you just need to go onto his site for a week, he can give you permissions for that week to work on his physical site. Moving on, so like I mentioned before, this is our new feature that we currently have, which is called our health monitoring. Okay, so if you guys are aware, like on HIK Central, we have a what is called health monitoring. This just shows us our statuses of our physical devices. Like I mentioned, if our device is online, if our device is offline, or in the event there's an issue with a particular hard drive, we'll be able to get a notification as well as have a live view of this. Okay, so if you're looking at our health monitoring, okay, we'll go through our physical key features. The first key features is just our health monitoring with our dashboard. Like I mentioned before and showed you, you can physically have a dashboard with all your current devices on it. It will show you, you have an encoding device, you have an alarm system. You can see the statuses of your devices. You can physically see the hard drive statuses of the devices. If you currently have managed switches, you'll be able to see the statuses of the switches. In the event one of the ports on your switches is down, it will also give you a notification as well as show you if there's an IP conflict. Everything can be seen from our physical dashboard, right? Like I mentioned, we have real-time notifications of the devices. So in the event a device physically goes offline, we'll be able to receive that notification within 2 to 3 minutes. Okay. Any other statuses like hard drive failures or anything else, we'll receive those notifications within the first half an hour, right? We'll then also be able to configure linkage rules and configurations. So in the event you have a camera that's linked to a AX Pro, as an example, that's linked to an alarm system or alarm company, okay, we can link that when a line crossing is triggered, that your alarm panel gets triggered and alarm goes off and then sends a notification through to your alarm receiving center. That would be obviously your security companies. So we can configure all of that from our HIK Pro Connect. Okay. Also mentioned before, we can manage employee roles and permissions. Okay, that's the boss will give his installer permissions, roles before he goes out to physical site. Okay. We also have our log management. So this is twofold. We can actually see when a technician physically goes to site, we can physically see what work he has done on the HIK Pro Connect. So if he's changed a physical IP address or the device went offline, we'll be able to get a log. Okay. We can also send a log to the physical client from our end. When the devices goes offline, we can say, the client will say, okay, I need to know what time, what date did a particular device go off. We can pull the log and we're able to send it through to the physical client. Okay. Also mentioned before, we have 5 installers. That means 1 administrator and 4 employee accounts. Okay. Then we have a new feature, which is called co-branding. What is co-branding? Co-branding, in the event, if you look at your HIK Connect account right now, when you open up your HIK Connect account, you will see there's a Hikvision logo. So the co-branding will allow you as an installer to change that physical logo to your company logo. Okay. What you can also do is you can physically add your company profile onto that, which will give you your physical email address, your cell phone number. In the event you have Facebook, in the event you have a physical website, you can have all of that added onto the client's profile or onto your HIK Pro Connect. And once you have invited a new client, all of your details will physically be there. That obviously creates brand awareness. Okay. Also, like I mentioned, this is our health monitoring. So this is how your screen will physically look, right? So if you look at our proactive and inspection, okay, our offline and online devices, you'll receive it, like I said, between 2 to 3 minutes or to 4 minutes. And then any other statuses, devices going offline, hard drive failures or IP conflicts, you'll receive it within 30 minutes. Okay. Then if you also look at our statuses, you see there's a battery option over there. That is a nice new feature that they put in. So in the event you have a AX Pro, for example, the client had physical load shedding and removed his devices from his plug point. You can call the client and say, ma'am, sir, you currently have 20% left on your AX Pro. Please plug your device back into DC as soon as your lights comes on. So all these notifications we'll be able to get on our dashboard. Remember, if you have the HIK Pro Connect app on your cell phone, you'll receive a notification immediately that there's a certain issue on a client site. Okay. So also I mentioned we can send a physical email or we can receive a physical email for our logs. Okay. Which we can obviously send via email. Okay. And then obviously we can do our exported files via 3 ways. We can do it via Excel, CSV, as well as PDF. If you're looking at our training summary, so this just introduces our 5 HIK Pro Connect packages, right? We have our free package, we have our health monitoring package, we have our employee account package, we have our cloud storage package, our cloud-based access control packages. Okay, so we have 5 different packages that we currently have on HIK Pro Connect. Okay, so currently there were certain packages that was run free until the end of December. There's certain packages that will be run till the end of June. Okay, so when you log into your HIK Pro Connect, you'll be able to see the free packages that we're currently offering, as well as our health monitoring package. Like I mentioned, our health monitoring packages allows us to physically view our statuses of our physical devices. Okay, then we also have the employee account packages. This is used for time and attendance devices. Okay, so if a client has a time and attendance device, you can then charge the client for employees that gets added to their physical system. Why? Because you're physically monitoring them. You're physically adding them to your physical account. Okay. Also, we have our cloud storage packages. We also have our cloud-based access and time and attendance, right? So like I mentioned on the next slide, I'll show you our cloud package. I just want to go there. Okay. So if you look at our add-on cloud storage, okay. So this cloud storage has, we can obviously store physical images on the cloud, right? Or we can have our physical cloud storage box. So this box needs to be purchased from our distributors. This box can only be purchased from an installer. So you as the installer has to purchase this, and you're basically selling the client cloud storage. Okay. How this physical box works is, in the event a client's NVR or DVR gets stolen, okay, you can physically add their data or their storage onto this physical box. Also, remember, this box has to be installed on the same LAN network. So if I give you a certain topology on how it is, a client will have an NVR on site, okay, on a certain network, 192.168 as an example. You will then put this cloud box storage in a ceiling or in a safe that is safe, that nobody can steal. Okay, so in the event that the NVR or DVR gets stolen, you will still get certain clips. So you'll still be able to see who stole that physical device at a certain time. And that you can send obviously through to your physical client. Remember, these are just short clips. It's not physical recordings for continuous recording or for motion recording. So it's just little clips that you have, like 10-second clips of the particular event at a particular time. Okay, so on the cloud storage box, we can only add up to 8 physical devices, meaning 8 cameras. So those 8 cameras can be added to either an NVR or to a physical DVR. Or you can add 8 cameras directly or individually onto the cloud storage box. Okay, and if you also look there, our cloud based time and attendance, this is free until 2021. This is obviously our older slides because the training has been done for quite some time. So there will be an update on the physical site itself. If you go to the physical site, you'll see that there's certain things has been extended for new users. Pardon, yes, that's correct. So in the event, pardon, you have like a managed switch, right? And there's an IP conflict. Maybe one of your technicians goes to site and adds a device that is on the same IP address. You will then receive a notification that there's IP conflict on your site. So yes, that is correct. Okay, so where we can get this from? So our HIK Pro Connect, obviously we can download it from our HIK our Google, or you can go onto your Play Store in the event you have an iPhone. Okay, also your HIK Pro Connect, you can obviously just scan our physical code itself. Also remember, on our HIK Connect, things has changed, so you can't download HIK Connect for Android on a physical on the Android side. You have to go to appstore.hikvision.com via Google, and there you'll be able to download HIK Connect. In the event you are using an iPhone, yes, you'll be able to still use the Play Store. And I think that's the end of our training, guys. Is there any questions?